All right, deep divers, ready to dive in. We're tackling Rousseau today, the social contract. And before you think, oh no, not another history lesson,
Right.
this is about you.
Yeah.
This deep dive is about understanding the agreements that we make as a society and how they shape our lives,
That's right.
and maybe where they're falling short.
We're going deep into Rousseau's The Social Contract,
Okay?
using the 1999 Oxford World's Classics edition, translated by Christopher Betts, to see just how relevant his 18th century ideas are to us today.
So Rousseau, he's this French philosopher, right?
He is.
What's the big deal?
Well, Rousseau is wrestling with the big question.
Okay.
Are humans naturally free? I mean, we are, but society, it seems to bring out inequality, conflict.
Yeah,
So how can we have a society that truly benefits everyone?
that is what the social contract is all about.
The social contract, it sounds kind of official, like
Yeah.
I need a lawyer to break it down.
Think of it less like a legally binding document and more like this unspoken agreement.
Oh,
The bedrock of a just and functioning society, really.
okay.
It's not about a king's divine right, not about who's strongest.
Right.
It's about us, individuals, agreeing, choosing to work together for the greater good.
So instead of everybody out for themselves, we agree to certain rules because ultimately it benefits everybody
Yeah, precisely.
in the long run.
Think about traffic laws.
Yeah.
Not everyone loves every single rule, right?
Right.
But we accept them. Why?
Yeah.
They create a safer, more efficient system on the roads for everybody.
Right. Okay. I see what you mean. So we're basically all agreeing to give up a little freedom, right? To have a stable, prosperous society.
Yeah, that's the basic idea.
Okay.
We're moving from, the state of nature, every man for himself, to a more organized, cooperative way of living.
Which brings us to one of Rousseau's most famous, maybe misunderstood ideas,
Yeah.
the general will.
Yes.
And you told me this isn't just about majority rule.
No. It's not a popularity contest.
Right.
It's not about just taking a vote.
It's deeper than that.
Deeper. It's about what's truly best for everyone in the long term,
Okay.
even if, at the moment, individuals don't necessarily see it that way.
So not about short-term wins, it's about what leads to the best outcomes for the entire community.
Exactly.
Even if those solutions aren't obvious
Yeah.
or popular.
Yeah. And sometimes it might even require,
Okay.
sacrifices
Yeah.
for the greater good to put the needs of everyone above your own desires.
Okay, so how do we figure out what this general will actually is?
Well, Rousseau gives this great analogy.
Okay.
A team working on a project.
Okay.
Each member might have their own ideas.
Right.
But ultimately, the focus has to be on what benefits the whole team, not just one person's vision.
Right.
It's about uplifting everyone involved.
So we all have our individual roles, but we need to keep our eye on that shared goal.
Precisely. And just like in a good team, different perspectives, they actually can lead to better solutions, more creative, more effective.
Right. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So you need that diversity of viewpoints.
Yeah.
As long as, like you said, everyone's focused on that.
the common good. Yeah.
Common good.
That's it.
So this general will, it's not just some abstract idea, right?
Right.
This actually has real implications on
Yeah.
how we think about government and laws and just
Oh, yeah.
our roles as citizens.
Absolutely. It's the framework for a just society.
Okay.
Rousseau, he was really into exploring
Yep, Kat.
how different types of governments, how well they could actually uphold this common good.
He wasn't afraid to pick favorites.
No, not at all.
You know what I mean?
He had his critique.
He wasn't just saying oh yeah, every system of government is great.
He dug deep.
Yeah.
He analyzed democracy, aristocracy, even monarchy.
Okay.
It wasn't about declaring one winner,
Right.
but about highlighting that each one has its own strengths and weaknesses.
Okay.
The ideal system, it depends, right?
Right.
It depends on the circumstances,
Yeah.
on the people.
One size fits all doesn't really apply here.
Nope, not at all.
So what might work for a small nation might not work for a huge one, right?
He was wary of large states, actually.
Okay.
He argued the bigger, the more complex a society gets,
Yeah.
the harder it is to keep that social contract strong.
Right. Because it's harder to
It's about connection.
yeah.
When you're in a small community, it's easier to feel connected to the common good.
Right.
Un-
And easier to feel connected to your community when you actually know your neighbors.
Exactly.
Right. And you all have that shared identity.
Shared purpose.
Yeah.
It matters.
But how does that translate
Right.
to today, to our world?
That's the question.
When we're talking about massive societies dealing with global issues.
Well, Rousseau, he didn't have to think about, like, international treaties, climate change, right?
Right.
But still, we can take his insights, apply them to today.
Okay.
His worries about, large states becoming unwieldy,
Yeah.
citizens feeling disconnected from their leaders, that's still relevant today.
So even though we can't just shrink our societies,
Right.
we can still learn from what he was saying
Absolutely.
about fostering that sense of community.
That sense of shared purpose,
Yeah.
even within our big, messy systems.
It's like, how do we make sure the government is actually listening
Responsive.
to the needs of its people?
Like, even as those societies grow.
Okay, so if Rousseau could, time travel
Okay.
to today and see modern democracies, what do you think he'd say?
Oh, that's a great question.
Would he be, impressed?
He'd probably be a little bit of both, I think.
Okay.
I think he'd admire the progress we've made, right?
Yeah.
Individual rights and freedoms,
Yeah.
but also some concerns.
That's what.
Special interests, how
Okay.
those can have influence.
Right.
The potential for, democracies to get stuck.
Right.
Short-sightedness.
Oh, yeah.
And, of course, the big one.
Good.
How do you actually represent so many different viewpoints
Right.
fairly?
It's a challenge.
Big time.
Yeah, and he never really had to deal with that at that scale.
No.
I bet he'd also have some thoughts on, our 24/7 news cycle,
Oh, for sure.
social media.
Yeah, but he wouldn't offer, this easy solution. Here's the perfect government plug and play.
Right. Yeah.
He's more about challenging us
Okay.
to really think critically about all this.
Yeah.
The strength, the weaknesses of different systems.
Be active participants
Yes, exactly.
in shaping the society
That's it?
we want to live in.
That's Rousseau.
Okay, so let's get into some specifics
Okay.
about some forms of government,
Okay.
starting with, the big one, democracy.
Okay.
He's not, giving it a rave review, is he?
He sees both sides,
Okay.
the good and the bad.
What are the advantages? What is he like?
He acknowledges that democracies have the potential, right,
Okay.
to represent a lot of viewpoints.
Okay, so it's good on paper
On paper, it sounds
to
good.
give citizens a voice.
Right, that's the idea.
Okay, but then he has some warnings.
He does. What are the pitfalls here?
One of the big ones is what he calls the tyranny of the majority.
What's that mean?
It's when the rights of the minority get trampled on
Okay.
by the desires of the masses.
So it's not enough to just have a vote?
No.
You have to think about the people who are in the minority, too.
You have to protect those rights.
Yeah.
And he also worried that democracies could be manipulated by people who want power, who want to benefit themselves, not the common good.
So it's not enough to just have a system.
Right.
You have to have ways to hold people accountable.
Accountability is key.
Okay, that's democracy.
Yeah.
What about aristocracy?
Aristocracy. Okay.
Is he picturing,
Powdered wigs.
powdered wigs and fancy balls?
Maybe.
Or is there, more to it? He digs deeper, of course.
Okay.
He saw that there could be benefits
Okay.
to having leaders who are, experienced.
Okay, so it's good to have some people in charge who, know what they're doing.
Right, who have knowledge, a proven track record.
Right.
But he was very cautious about power
Okay.
based solely on, where you came from.
Right, like your family.
Birthright,
Okay.
or just wealth,
Okay.
not on actual merit,
Yeah, okay.
not on a commitment to, serving others.
So it's about finding that balance.
Balance, exactly.
Between having expertise,
Yes,
but also making sure that the people in charge are
Yeah.
just this out-of-touch elite.
exactly.
Okay, now for a system that seems very outdated, monarchy.
Monarchy, right?
Did he have anything good to say about monarchy?
It might surprise you, but yes.
Really?
He did.
Okay.
He felt that a single, strong leader
Okay.
could be more effective
Okay.
in some very specific situations,
Like what?
like enforcing laws during a crisis.
Oh, so when you need somebody to just make a decision.
Quick, decisive action.
Yeah. Okay.
But, and this is a big but,
Yeah.
he knew how easily that could become tyranny,
Right.
how easily a ruler could become a tyrant, abuse their power.
Right. Absolute power corrupts absolutely or whatever.
Exactly.
But it sounds like overall Rousseau was more interested in just laying out the options.
exploring the nuances.
Yeah.
Not saying this one's the winner.
Yeah.
He wanted us to think about the context.
Right.
Does it fit this society?
Yeah, what are the specific needs of this society? So we've talked about how Rousseau says there's no one best system, right?
Right.
But he also talks about how even a good system, it can go bad.
Absolutely.
What are the warning signs? Like, how do we know if our society's on the wrong track?
He was really worried about corruption.
Okay.
And he said one of the biggest red flags is when leaders, they start putting their own interests above everything else.
Yeah, like getting greedy, power hungry.
Exactly. They're more concerned with staying in power
Right.
or getting rich than actually serving the people.
Yeah, I mean, we see that all the time in history.
Sadly, yes.
It's like that old saying, power corrupts.
And it often starts small,
Okay.
little compromises here and there, then accountability weakens. And
No, it's a slippery slope.
it can be, yeah. That's why Rousseau says it's so important. For people to be vigilant, citizens who will actually hold their leaders accountable.
Yeah, don't let them get away with anything.
Exactly.
So we can't just set up a good system and then just assume it'll be fine.
No, we have to be active participants.
We do.
We have to be paying attention, and if we see something, we have to say something.
Call it out.
Yeah.
But he also talks about something else, right?
Yeah.
It's not just about a few bad apples at the top.
Right. He's worried about what he calls apathy.
Apathy.
It's when people, they just become indifferent.
Okay.
They don't care about the common good anymore.
Oh, so they're just checked out.
Yeah, too busy with their own lives, or they're just cynical.
Yeah.
They don't think they can make a difference.
Oh, so they're like, why bother?
Exactly. And that creates this perfect environment for corruption to grow.
Because no one's there to stop it.
Exactly. No one's holding those in power accountable.
Right. It's like the only way evil can win is if good people do nothing.
Precisely. Rousseau believed that we have to be engaged.
Yeah. Okay.
Active citizens, that's the lifeblood of a healthy society.
So being informed, getting involved.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
being willing to challenge those in power when we have to.
Don't be afraid to rock the boat a little bit.
Exactly.
You see something's wrong.
Speak up.
Okay, so we got to pay attention. We got to get involved.
We do.
Can't just assume someone else will fix it for us.
Nope.
Now, before we wrap up,
Yeah.
we got to talk about one more thing.
Okay.
Civil religion.
Ah, yes.
This one always gets some interesting reaction.
It does, and it's often misunderstood.
Because it sounds like he's saying we need some kind of official state religion.
Right. But that's not it at all.
Okay.
Rousseau, he was actually very skeptical of organized religion.
Really?
Yeah, he thought it caused more division than unity, especially in politics.
So he's not talking about forcing everyone to follow one set of beliefs.
No, not at all.
Okay, because that would never fly today.
No, definitely not.
So what is he talking about then?
When he said civil religion, he meant like a shared set of values,
Correct.
principles that could hold a society together.
Okay, so less about who you worship and more about just having some common ground on basic morals and ethics.
Yes, things like honesty, fairness, respect for others.
Right, the golden rule stuff. Treat others how you want to be treated.
He believed that a healthy society needs that shared understanding
Okay.
of what's right, what's wrong, like a moral compass.
Yeah, like a code of conduct.
Yeah. And he felt like these values, they come from reason,
Okay.
from caring about other people. They don't need to be tied to a specific religion.
So it's regardless of your beliefs,
Yeah.
we can all agree on some basic principles.
Exactly. That's what makes a society just and harmonious.
And he gives some specific examples in the book, right? What are some of the big ones?
Well, he talks about believing in a just and moral order.
Yeah. Oh?
Even if you don't believe in, a God,
Yeah. Right.
respecting the social contract.
Right, so the agreements we've all made.
Exactly. And this is big. Rejecting intolerance.
Okay.
So valuing respect, even when people have different opinions.
Basically, don't be a jerk.
Pretty much.
It all comes back to that.
Right. It's simple but important.
Yeah, and it makes sense, right?
It does.
If you want a good society,
You have to have that foundation.
you can't just have laws. You need people to buy into the whole thing.
Exactly, Rousseau. He was all about that.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here.
We have.
Talked about how societies are formed, the challenges of governing,
Yeah.
how important it is for everyone to be involved, to be active citizens.
Big takeaways.
Big takeaways from Rousseau.
Yeah. They still matter today.
They do.
It's amazing how relevant his ideas still are.
So much to think about.
Oh, definitely.
Well, on that note,
Yeah.
that's it for this deep dive into the social contract.
It's been a journey.
It has, Rousseau. He really makes you think.
He does. Always challenging.
And we'll be back next time with another deep dive.
Another topic.
Another chance to,
Get those brains working.
Yeah, till next time, deep divers.